Hey everyone, so it's our season finale and we have a very special guest, but you know who that guest is because you already downloaded this episode. But if you're new to Beyond the Plate, meaning you joined us this season, you probably know this season has been celebrity focused. But back in season 1 and 2, we sat with some of the world's best chefs and restaurateurs. And for our upcoming season 4, we're going back to that. So consider this the finale, but it's also a little teaser into where we started or into our upcoming season 4. So with that said,
I'm Jeff Mauro, and you're listening to Beyond the Plate with Cappy. I got my first, official real job when I was 15, and I worked at the butcher shop. 2 mustachioed butchers, right? Stack of Playboys in the back, chain smoking walk out. I'm like dating myself. You would think I was raised in the 40s, right?
Season 3 of Beyond the Plate is made possible with the help of our friends at Martin's Famous Potato Rolls. Hey everyone, this is Cappy, and you're listening to Beyond the Plate, a podcast where I sit down with the world's culinary elite to explore their journey with food and their passion for giving back. Every episode, we share inspiring stories of what it means to be in today's hospitality industry. As you know, this season, we welcomed an amazing group of celebrities such as Neil Patrick Harris and David Burtka, Tiffany Thiessen, Alicia Silverstone, our last guest, Jason Biggs, and plenty more. In one way or another, they all have a connection to the world of food, whether they host a food show or have a cookbook or simply give back through food. We were super excited to have them join us on Beyond the Plate. Season 3 of Beyond the Plate is made possible with the help of our friends at Guinness. Guinness can be part of your celebration, whether you're in the pub or at home. Guinness has been brewing great beer for almost 260 years. Whoa! There's more than just the iconic Guinness Draft Stout. And you may have heard that Guinness Draft is too heavy, people may say, to have with a meal, but that's actually not true. It's only 4.2% alcohol by volume, which I did not know, and it has just 126 calories in a 12-ounce pour. Who knew? Not very far off from your typical light beer. Now, while I enjoy a nice cold Guinness, I also like to use it in the kitchen. Say, jazzing up a homemade barbecue sauce, maybe basting it on some grilled chicken thighs. How about that? But you know what else I love about Guinness? I can't get enough of their Guinness Gives Back program, truly. They recently worked with Jeff Mauro, part of this episode, to raise money for food banks in both Chicago and New York. And around St. Paddy's Day, they donated $1 for every Guinness mustache posted to social media with the hashtag #StashForCharity. So the Guinness Gives Back Fund supports nonprofits that contribute to the common good in our communities. The Guinness Gives Back Fund's a corporate donor-advised fund administered by Fairfield County's Community Foundation. The fund's mission is to support local charitable organizations, which are classified under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code that are aligned with the corporate focus areas of Diageo North America, Inc. To learn more about Guinness, visit their website, Guinness.com, or check them out on social media at Guinness US. Guinness, we thank you. For this episode, we sat with Mr. Jeff Mauro. Love this dude. Talented, hilarious, the Food Network funny man, in my opinion. I love this guy. He truly makes me crack up every time I see him. So we sat and talked at his home in the Chicagoland area. We talked about his journey into the food world. Pretty neat one. I never knew all of it, and I think you're going to learn something new about this guy's work ethic. Talks about his journey into Food Network Star, a little bit about his Pork and Mindy's restaurant concepts in the Chicago area, how he chooses to give back. I've worked with him on some giving campaigns here in Chicago. Really nice guy, generous with his time when he has time, which is rarely ever. We do not talk about his new podcast called Dad Vice that he has, but he has one, so check it out. But now for the more formal stuff, but it's not really that formal because his bio is like more hilarious, but here's some snippets. He was born in Chicago. His first job was at the local butcher shop where he was paid the handsome wage of $3.62 an hour. After 3 months of sweeping up bloody sawdust and washing fat pans, he decided to make a vertical move and accepted a job at the deli down the street where he was paid $5.12 an hour to make sandwiches. After 3 years hustling and failing in Hollywood, he upped the ante and enrolled in culinary school to refine his cooking skills. He He returned to Chicago, where he was a culinary instructor, a new father, a successful private corporate chef, which he talks about, and a local comedic performer. But after 3 unsuccessful audition attempts, he finally landed himself on season 7 of Food Network Star, and he won. He then had an Emmy-nominated show called Sandwich King, and he currently co-hosts the Food Network's Saturday afternoon juggernaut, The Kitchen, now in its 22nd season. Whoa. His favorite color is pastrami, and his favorite smell is meat smoke. I mean, what else? All right, this was a fun one. I'm going to stop here. Please enjoy this conversation as we go beyond the plate with Jeff Mauro. All right, let's do it.
Do it.
Personal connection. Your sister worked with my wife.
It's true.
When we moved back to Chicago. And also in this small world of food, we see each other through the wine and food festival circuit.
Very true.
And you were very gracious to be involved in some charity work that I did with the Academy for Global Citizenship here, which is a school on the southwest side of Chicago, and this event raised millions of dollars, and you were one of the few chefs we had involved, and we thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome. It's always fun to do that event, mainly because, it is, like the best of the best, and I feel lucky just to be a part of it. But, the kids are awesome, and they're talented, and you get your own little personal painting of yourself every year. By a different student, and it's fun to see those every, obviously it's a charity event. We don't get paid, but I feel like I do get paid because I do it for the charity, but I also do it for the free painting of myself.
That's right.
And they're so good. Some are, obviously better than others. You're dealing with different ages of kids too, but I love, and all the chefs, they say they do it for their heart, but I think they all do. That's how narcissistic we all are deep down. We want a child's painting of ourselves.
So for those people who don't have the privilege of knowing you, what 3 words would you use to describe yourself?
Funny, I hope. God, this is hard. Why is that harder? I'd say funny, real, and family.
All right.
I guess that's it. Real meaning I still kind of live where I grew up. Despite traveling most of the time and working out east most of the time and having to get on a plane to make a buck still, I still keep my family closest, and that's what I mean by real. I try to raise my son in a real environment and not take him. I could have moved to New York 9 years ago when all this started happening, if I listened to my peers and agents and stuff like that, and obviously I could probably work more and make more money if I moved to New York. I could be on the Today Show more, and I can be on all these other shows, and I can, on a whim, go, guest judge and Chopped or whatever. But deep down, I think it's, my life is richer just staying here that much more,
Yeah. So the 3 words I was going to say were funny, generous, and this is one word, makes a damn good sandwich.
Is that one word?
Yeah, I spelled it as one word.
That's a mouthful.
Can you take us on like a brief ride of your culinary journey, like up until Food Network days?
Okay.
Because I know there's like acting in there.
Yes, there's a whole, yes.
There's like Tony and Tina's wedding.
I've done it all, but I always cooked. From my first job, which technically was at the White Hen here in River Forest on Lake Street.
Wait, White Hen Pantry?
Remember White Hen Pantry?
Do I ever?
It was like sorting papers with my brother on Sundays. That's when the Sunday papers would be delivered to White Hen, and you'd have to put the sports on top of the Tempo, on top of the front page with the circulars in between. So that was for a couple bucks. But I think the guy who owned it was a little shady. So I think we made it out unscathed because it didn't end well with some of the other kids, I think. Thank God for my parents that were involved. And then I remember working for 5 summers in a row, starting at 14 years old, was Taste of Chicago for Tuscany, Taylor Street location. And we'd slang beefs and sausages and fried ravioli with my cousins and my brother and stuff. So that was, making $5 an hour, working 16 hours a day at the Taste. It was the best. And that's when I kind of got that love for food and being like, I love the selling of it. I love putting things together, and I love watching people stuff their face, you know? To me, that was always a part of performing. And through all this, I did performing arts. I took Second City youth classes and Piven Theater Workshop in Evanston, school plays, everything. So then I got my first, official real job when I was 15. I had to go get a work permit. I worked at the butcher shop here on Lake Street. So I started sweeping up sawdust and fat and cleaning gristle and blood out of hotel pans all day. Loved it. 2 mustachioed butchers, right? Stack of Playboys in the back, chain smoking while out. I'm like dating myself. You would think I was raised in the 40s, right?
Why did you want to do that?
It was just open. They had a sign in the window. Okay. I went there. They paid me $3.62 an hour, below minimum wage back then. But because I was not 16, they can get away with it. And then I moved about 6 doors down to a deli and catering company called Traveling Fare. And then he paid me $5 an hour, which I was like, I'm in the money. But that's when I got the love for the sandwich, right? Because I was in charge of slicing meat by the pound and building sandwiches and helping the chef and back with catering stuff. So I always, I guess, supported myself or made my, side money in the food world. And, those early jobs, I think, solidified that. And from that point on, I went to college and was the steward for the fraternity for 4 years, right? So I'd have the key to the kitchen.
Yes.
And I revamped the whole thing, because whoever was doing it before was getting gelatinous deli turkey that was sliced a 1/4 inch thick. And I revamped all that by getting our own slicer and doing it a la minute. But and then I graduated college and my cousin with a solid 2.3 average in communications, radio, television. And 2 weeks after I graduated, my cousin, who's a chef in the city, wanted to get out of the, back of the house in the full service world and opened a deli out in the suburbs. He's like, come on board with me, he just helped me out. And that was, 4 years later, because I got cast in Tony and Tina's wedding the same week we opened the deli. So I got to do both. It was daytime there and nighttimes Piper's Alley.
Dang.
That's that. And then eventually culinary school in LA and restaurant and all that stuff. But I've always worked in food. People just think it was like, hey, this guy, he's funny, he needs an angle. It wasn't. It's not. I've worked in food a very, very long time.
Why culinary school in LA? Did you go out there for?
I went out there to hustle. Comedy, stand-up, improv. I did the Groundlings, shooting from 3 weeks. My cousin is a screenwriter and director. He's like, come on out. We'll produce a cooking show for you. I was like, this is it. I'm in the money. And at that point, Sarah, my wife, she's a nurse. She's working, I think probably at Loyola at that time or Rush as a nurse in the hospital. But you can get a job anywhere as a nurse. So sorry, that's my dog barking at 0 out there. So we moved out there because it was easy and, hustling and everything and shooting pilots and trying to shop them around and getting representation, shopping them around still. And it was like after 3 years of that, while performing, while working full time, I rolled out of bed one day. I was like, I got to do something. I need to disrupt my own life because right now, we're married at this point. I'm not I feel like I'm kind of stringing Sarah along. She's the main breadwinner, obviously. And I'm not that I worked full time.
Did you work in food in LA or just?
No, I never did.
Okay.
No, I just did. I worked at a production company, answering phones for the president during the day. And then at night I do Groundlings a couple days a week, do stand up, failed miserably, doing open mics in LA. Whereas I succeeded. I was much better in Chicago.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, it wasn't my jam. I didn't do it enough or a lot at all because I was scared shitless. It still scares me to this day.
Really?
Stand-up is, to me, the hardest thing on the planet.
Because I think if you did an open mic in Chicago and position, I don't know how this would be brand building, but positioned as this comedian that did jokes about food for the world of food,
It's like Jim Gaffigan, how he, I've done it. I did Zanies. I opened for Pat Tomasulo from WGN probably about 1.5 years ago or something. And we're friends and he's always trying to get me on stage and I can do it. I did 10 minutes solid. I literally have books of bits that I still use, that I still write down. But for me, the safety net is the food because usually I'm doing a demo while I'm doing my bits. You know what I mean? So when I do personal appearances or food festivals, I mean, I'm doing a 30 minutes while cooking. It's the same muscle, just doing more at once.
So you decided to go to a culinary school in LA.
Boom. Did that for a year, worked in restaurants, then moved back here and basically started the family, you know.
When you auditioned for Food Network Star, you did that when you were back here.
I started when I was in LA.
Really?
Yeah, and it took me several tries. 4 tries. I started season 4 and I didn't get on till season 7.
No shit.
Yeah.
How'd you find out about it? Or who did someone push you to do it?
That was an open, I knew it existed, obviously. And then when I started season 4, I was fresh out of culinary school, working in a restaurant, and I made it really far to the point where I started auditioning and got called back while I was in LA, moved back home to Chicago, didn't hear, that was like in April, and then I didn't hear from him till like December. So we were fresh, kind of fresh off the boat, and I was working. I was, I forget what I was doing. I was cooking I was a private chefing for this large mortgage guaranteed rate in Chicago here. I had my own cafe. It was great hours, good benefits, cooking for 400 people, face fronting, so I had like my cafe and my meat slicer. I was like back where I needed to be, right?
I feel like you need like a mini meat slicer in your kitchen.
She'll kill me. She will. There's no, first of all, there's no such thing as a quality mini meat slicer. I need like a big Burkle.
I was going to say.
Yeah. If they made outdoor ones, I could get away with it if it lived out in the outdoor kitchen.
Who's the minimalist?
My wife. I think we both are. I grew up in a shit ton of clutter. I'm one of 4 siblings. My parents were not like packed, not at all, but it was just chaos. It was chaotic and there's always stuff around.
Yeah, my wife wants white kitchen with nothing on the counter. I was like, I have a fucking Vitamix. I have a food processor. I have a stand mixer. I have 2 coffee machines.
You can see there's a ton of cabinets here.
I have Bain Marie's of equipment. I was like, what do you mean nothing on the counter?
I know. It's very, I'm constantly, I would rather have maybe 20% more things on the counter than there are currently because, as you see, and if you look in the new, whatever, what month is it? The May issue of Food Network magazine, the kitchen is featured in Star Kitchen, which they wanted to do at my old house in Elmwood Park. So I sent them pictures. I didn't hear back from them.
That's like the first time Rachel, New York Times, wanted to do a feature on her. And she's like, yeah, sure. She was living in like a $400 a month cabin in upstate New York with 1 bedroom and no dishwasher. And the editor came up. They're like, they were so unamused. And she's like, well, this is what I do. All right. You mentioned family with a name like Mauro. Tell me about your family table growing up.
The table was, my mom cooked. And unlike a lot of the kids, maybe we grew up, especially when we moved to River Forest, we were one of the few that had to be home 5 p.m., 5:30, whenever she would, call it. And we got our balls busted. We were like, oh my God, guess you got to go home and eat dinner with your family. I was like, aren't you hungry? A, I'm starving. I haven't eaten in 2 hours, right? B, it was where everything happened, right? Of course, food, my mom, that was back in when, we would eat pasta probably 4 days a week. That was before, carb was a 4-letter word, right? So we'd have, it would always, 2 liters of Diet Pop, always, usually Diet Right, and pasta and chicken, pork, burger, whatever, meat, vegetable thing. But that's where all the business went down. That's where, that's where we laughed the most and discussed things, fought, right? Cried, everything, So for me, it's, sorry about that. Something's probably the mailman. So we wanted to be a lot of times it was difficult being around the table because it was, there was 4 kids, 2 parents, and nobody had a weak personality. So it was how do you vie for that attention? I think that's where I developed my comic muscle. Was because I didn't make my kids, I didn't make my siblings cry like my brother did. I didn't cry like my sisters did. So what was I going to do? Let's keep the peace by making them laugh. And that was kind of my role. Was
there any mainstay dishes that were cooked weekly or often?
I would say probably, I would say we always had red sauce, from Sunday that would start on Sunday and then carry over into the meat, just like a marinara.
A big pot of it.
Yeah, big pot. You live on the stove, unrefrigerated for up to 2 days. But I guess that gave us a strong constitution, right?
It's so funny because I went from culinary school to hospitality school, and my hospitality school was an international school, and I went to school with a lot of people from the West Indies, and some of my great friends were from Jamaica, and they would make rice and peas and chicken dishes on the stove in the morning, and they'd be like, here, have some, eat it for lunch, and then they would leave it on the stove off all day, and then we'd come home like late night at 1 a.m, and they're like, hey. I'm like, I'm not fucking eating that. And they're like, why not?
I don't have your constitution. I'm not used to that.
What's the first thing you ever cooked?
Sandwiches. Yeah, I think it was, my mom handled it. Like, there was no way I didn't care when I was a kid. Like, I didn't want to, like, my mom handled it. There was nothing cool about cooking when I was growing up, right? It didn't start until I was in my 20s till like kind of, Food Network started hitting. And then, but I was always so anal about food. Before it hit my plate, I had certain things, right? Like I didn't like big hunks of meat, and that's where the love of sandwiches came in, because I'd always, toast my, butter and griddle my bread. Like I hated dry toasting bread. I thought it was just scrape up the roof of your mouth. So I need butter and everything. So it's probably the bread onto the meat and then thinly slicing stuff. But it was when my mom gave up packing our lunches as kids, because she was over it. Pack your own damn lunches. And we would, I would learn to separate all the ingredients in its own little designated zip lock bag and everything. So I'd build the sandwiches fresh.
Really?
I was in junior high, whatever. So nerdy, chubby, obviously. And putting turkey on, and I couldn't put the bread in plastic because I detect the plastic taste. So I'd have to foil wrap it. My mom didn't care. And I was probably blowing through like $17 of disposables, right? I was, whatever. Go green, kids. Don't do that. But for me, it was, if I'm going to eat this thing, I want it to be, and that carried throughout my life. It was even like working in offices or whatever in my teens or 20s and stuff. I would do the same thing. I hated like just whole sandwiches sitting there congealing. Yeah. Lettuce, mustard soaking into bread, whatever.
Nothing grosses me out more than a pre-packaged sandwich in like anywhere, a bodega, gas station,
I call them
whatever.
kiosk sandwiches.
There's no way to make them good.
To find me one, whoever's out there listening, tweet, whatever. If you could prove to me a kiosk sandwich is good, like if you've got those kiosk sandwiches of all kiosk sandwiches, please prove it to me. Usually it is ungodly wilted lettuce, right? Like just like it's always peeking through, usually it's on some whole grain sub roll, right? That is like
hard
and it's so cold, right? And the meat's always lackluster and the mustard is whatever. And then you see people, who's eating the triangle tuna fish sandwich from a gas station?
Can we take a break for a second? Where am I eating on my way home from here?
Well, Johnny's is always right there. So if you're going to take North Avenue back down, what are you in the mood for? You want hot or cold?
Do you get beef or sausage at Johnny's or both?
I get a combo. You know what I do?
I've never had a combo there.
You know what? When they're churning and burning, it's the best because sometimes their sausage gets overcooked over those coals. But when it's like prime, I love Downwood Park. Our friends are still there. We still hang out there all the time. But when the wind was blowing due northeast, we were 2.5, 3 blocks away. We can smell the charcoal in the air and the sausage. There's nothing that smells like a beef stand, right? It's got that oil. You smell the peppers, right? You smell the beef in the air, and you should smell that char and that's the beauty of Johnny's. And it's frequency there, right? Because they do such volume. That's what makes it the best beef stand, I think, in the city. It's like you're constantly just nothing sitting in the gravy too long and like getting rubbery. I think you do a combo. Combos can get a little cumbersome when they're too saturated. So just, combo, easy juice, sweet and hot. Get it. It's nice enough. Get an Italian ice, small, no cap. Get a Diet Coke. Get some fries and a side of hot dog plain. I love plain hot dogs.
Side of hot dog.
Oh, always. The Mauro fan, we go anywhere. My dad's like, can I get
I thought you were going to say like a side of cheese.
No, a side of Polish. That's another Mauro favorite. Can we get a side of Polish, please?
Oh, this is amazing. Polish sausages are incredible because essentially it's like a seasoned hot dog.
It's like usually 4 times the size of a normal 10-to-1, natural casing.
Oh, that was a great digression, if that is a word. Okay, you mentioned family, and I know you're a family man. You travel a lot. How are you balancing family with TV production?
Well, I believe in two things, and that's what I've learned 9 years since doing this television, bit, is number one, I push it. And that means I leave comfortably late enough from my home to wherever I need to go, whereas I don't mess with the potential production, but I'm also not like milking my time away from home, So not to say I'm taking red eyes to New York. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And we've gotten into a system where it's like a 3:00 flight's usually better than an 8:30 p.m. flight because I can get settled, have dinner, wake up, So that's that. And on the other end of it, when I'm done shooting, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I don't need to spend an extra night somewhere because if I have to schmooze or if I have to kiss some rings or go out with the agents, whatever, I do it enough. I do allocate time for that, but 75% of the time I'm getting on a plane. Sometimes it is that last flight to go home, wake up, and be at home with my family. Second part is like when I do work, I'm not clubbing, I'm not like hitting the bars till 2 a.m., which is always an option in our world. I've kind of set a precedence where I don't do that. Again, I'll go out to dinner, schmooze. I'll do whatever I need to do to keep the name out there, right?
Yeah.
Play the game. But generally, I go back to the hotel, whatever. I eat, I wake up, I work out as much as I can, and shoot. So I'm fresh. So I do my job well or better than anybody because I'm fresh. And then I go home, so that's it. And, obviously like FaceTime has been great and just checking in a lot. But for me, it's like, how can I control and reduce my time away from home? That's really the only way I can, because I'm still in the position where I generally have to say yes to things. You know what I mean? I can't know stuff, I'm busy, but for me, it's like, you got to keep it going.
Are there deals or rules with the wife or your son?
Like as far as what? Elaborate.
If you're away for these 2 weeks, then we're going to Mexico for this week.
You know what? No, as long as I'm like home for the weekend and she,
Do you try and be home on weekends?
Yeah. Luckily with television production, it doesn't occur that much on the weekends. And then with the restaurants and everything, I mean, we're at 1 million, we're in all these Marianos. So that keeps me very busy here. Whereas before I can kind of come home from a week-long shoot and veg out for 3-4 days, but before maybe I have to get on a plane. But now it's like, it's good.
There's stuff to do here.
What? Idle hands. That's the thing. I do get the rule is usually when I start getting, like my wife wants me to work, right? Sarah's like, go, you've been home 2 days. You're starting to get crabby and irpy and short with Lorenzo. I'm not perfect, but low-hanging fruit. It's usually your wife and kid and dogs, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm busier, I'm usually a little more even-keeled.
Do you enjoy going into the restaurants?
Yeah, for the most part. It's
how
usually
many,
stressful.
So there's the Pork and Minnie's location in Bucktown around the corner from my house, but you just mentioned there's a bunch.
Yeah, so we have that. We have 2 in the Loop in food halls. We're in, 4 and 55 in Well Street Market. So those are, obviously more lunchtime spots, and those are fun to go to because it's like, it's always, you do the same amount of tickets in an hour and a half than you do at the brick and mortars, right? And we're building one on North Avenue in between Johnny's and Alpine. So that should start construction.
I've never been to Alpine.
In 9 days. Alpine's great.
You told me about Alpine a while ago.
It's good. You should. You know what? Maybe it's a little lighter than a combo. I love it.
It's just like a
Italian deli.
Yeah,
good bread.
Okay.
They use Toronto. They used to use Ganella, but it's good. So then we have we're in a lot of food halls. One in Lisle in a corporate food hall. We're in Denver, Minneapolis. We're at Wrigley Field in the bleachers, and now we're at 10 officially open now. By September, it'll be 24 Marianos, grocerants as we call them, serving full menus plus hot grab and go, cold grab and go. We're smoking meatloafs, our own ribs, smoking brisket, pastrami by the pound, brisket by the pound.
Kiosk sandwiches?
No kiosk sandwiches. I refuse. We do have some grab and go at the one in Ravenswood where people love but they're foil wrapped under the heat. It's freshly made. We only do 2 of each at once.
You don't put 55 sandwiches out and sell 2. Yeah.
It's so sad.
I'm curious personally and for the listener, Pork and Mindy's, the name, versus like Jeff's sandwich shop?
Yeah, because the idea came to me through my partner and the CEO of Pork and Mindy's, Kevin, who that was the name of his championship barbecue team that he used to travel with for a decade. It was called Pork and Mindy's. So he always had not only the passion for smoking meat, he's a Harvard business guy, so he's an entrepreneur as well. And this kind of lay dormant in him. And he realized there was a void in the fast casual world for not only barbecue, but slow smoked meats and pork. So what we did is kind of create this. What I liked about that, and not calling it Jeff's, it could live on its own. It's a name that you don't forget, whether you think it's stupid or punny or whatever, or it harkens back to simpler times with, Mork and Mindy's. I probably wasn't I was like the name. I never fought anything in the name, but I wasn't. It's not like the name sold me on it. It was the vision of this empty space and how can we. I was meeting with restaurant groups in the city and it was awesome, but I didn't want just one off full service restaurant and bar because I think that would just cause, it's just too much, right? My family wants reservations, my dad's at the bar, drink, you know what I mean? I could just visualize all this. I wanted something that fit more my personality. I think that's the fast casual world, sandwiches obviously, and something scalable.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's a pain in the ass. It's the worst. I mean, people think I'm rolling in money. I'm like, it's a restaurant. You don't roll in money ever unless, you're the very few, and hopefully we're going to get there and we're well on our way there. But the first 3 years have been hard. Yeah. It's so much turnover and losses and things. And it's like, why am I doing this? I have to remind myself every morning.
And I guess the good part about not having your name on it is that you don't have to read reviews saying, I went to Jeff's sandwich shop and he wasn't there.
See? And that's the first, people get mad. Now, Bucktown is good. Like the other one, Bucktown's our flagship, and we're going to revamp it into probably a training ghost kitchen to do Uber Eats and all that stuff out of it, because it's a hard location. And with my fan base, we get people going there once, but the parking's so bad and the city traffic is horrendous, especially in that neck of the woods. If you're not used to driving through Wicker Park or Bucktown with the diagonal streets, it can get a little confusing if you're not a city dweller. Yeah. So it's like we get dinged a lot because just the logistics of getting there. Whereas when we open in Elmwood Park, that's going to become our flagship. That's where I think spiritually we should have been in the beginning, because it's just, and we got time. It's like, a million free spots over there. We're going to have a rooftop deck. It's going to be more my, our vision. That's at awesome. This point.
It's where you grew up, and you grew up going to, what was in that location? If I saw it on your Instagram.
The Apothecary, which was like a little drugstore, right? Used to go there and buy Jolly Ranchers and Garbage Pail Kids because I went to school across the street. And so, that's what we're going to call there's going to be a little sign on the rooftop bar. It's going to be called the Apothecary.
Yeah, I dig it.
It's like an homage. And instead of at the Bucktown location, great, where there's all these jerseys of me, with my name on it that I got from throwing the first pitch at the Sox or the Cubs or doing the shoot the puck at the Blackhawks game. There it's going to be my St. Vincent school photos.
Yeah, I love it.
Like stupid articles from the elm leaves. Yeah. When my baseball team won the championship, right? My only athletic claim to fame, right? So it's just going to be more personal, but also very accessible for everybody. So we're excited about that.
We'll be right back with Jeff after this word from our delicious presenting sponsor. Martin's Potato Rolls was founded in the heart of Pennsylvania Dutch country in 1955. Martin's Potato Rolls are the #1 branded hamburger buns in America, and as I like to say, they can make almost any burger taste better. I recently found out from Chef Lee Wolin of Somerset Restaurant in Chicago, who also oversees the menu of Devereaux, the rooftop bar at the Viceroy Hotel Chicago, that he's got a burger on the menu with the Martin's rolls. So I'm on it, and I will have to report back. Moving on, here is what I love about Martin's. Their mission encompasses more than just baking great bread and buns and rolls. They believe in giving back to the community and beyond. Through volunteering time and donating resources, they support hundreds of charitable organizations, such as food banks, after-school programs, disaster relief, and others that provide sustenance and comfort to people in need both close to their baking facilities and abroad. So to learn more about Martin's, please visit their website at potatorolls.com or follow them on the delicious world of social media at Potato Rolls. Martins, we thank you. So switching gears back to Food Network Star. So something I didn't clarify, you won season 7 of Food Network Star, but you had said you started auditioning in season 4. So congrats to you for freaking sticking through it. But tell me, like, why that audition, or why do you think you got it at that point, do you think?
I think my story started season 4, right? I did move back to Chicago. I got called back several times while in LA, but like I said, that December, that was the final round of auditioning. They sent me to New York. You know, we did not have Lorenzo at that point. We just moved back. I had a degree. I had the culinary degree. I was working professionally. I thought that's kind of like where the story began. And I made it as far as you can get without being cast. It's a point of auditioning in the Food Network studios, having screen tests, background checks, everything. I thought I got it. Season 4, I was like, this is mine. Standing ovation after my demo, like all this stuff. I was like, I'm cast. And then they never called me back. And I was so crushed. I did it again the next year. And then the year after that. And it was the final season 7. By that point, my son is a year and a half. We got our own condo in the city now no, that's not true. We moved in with my in-laws for a year. So we're working, we're dropping Lorenzo off. He's going by Midway, where we were living on the south side, dropping him off every morning at like 6 a.m. by my Sarah's aunts in Elmwood Park. And then she would drop him off I would be on Irving and Montrose. Western and Montrose to pick him up from, it was this loop every day. And it was the worst. Living in a basement, saving up for a house. We moved into the house a month and a half later. Hey, babe. It's my wife, Sarah. It's my wife, Sarah. Like, why am I?
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good. I'm going to rush up and talk because I have an appointment.
Oh, what do you have an appointment? What's your appointment?
Skin doctor.
Oh, boy.
My yearly skin
That's right. This is a public service announcement. Get a skin scan.
By the way, that's a good PSA. When I interviewed Giada at the Wine and Food Festival, she lost her brother.
Through melanoma, right?
Yeah. And so when I finished interviewing her, I went home it was in Miami. I went back home to Chicago and I got a full body skin
test. You got to do it. Like, her dad had melanoma and it was, it was not good, but he's fine now. But she's very, very diligent about it, almost to the point where
I should probably schedule my next year.
I saw a couple on your lower back earlier when you were bending over. So yeah, what was I saying? So we lived there. So it's like we saved for this house. We did it the old fashioned way, right? We moved into this house in Elmwood Park, small starter home. We had our son. I was like, I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to send in a video.
Was your wife like, really?
She's like, I already told her, I go, this is the last time. I go, I swear to God, this is it. I'm happy. I'm going to eventually open up my own sandwich shop. I had people at Garrett, where I was private chefing, had a ton of money. They wanted to invest in something. I was ready. I was fine. I was performing at nights, doing stuff like that, scratching each itch, right? She goes, I'm just letting you know. I have a good feeling about this. If you put in this video, and she's very skeptical. She wanted nothing to do with show business, but we've been together since we were 21 and, 40, almost 41. So almost half our lives we spent together. She's been through all of it. She's like, listen, it's, this is it. I go, bullshit. You don't know me. I go, I only fail at this shit. So I send in the video. I got a call in 2 days. They're like, we're flying you out to New York for semifinal casting.
Oh, you just sent in a video?
I just sent in a video. It was a good video, but it was I'm not saying I didn't half-ass this. I just didn't care because it was this was it.
Totally. You let the nerves go in a way.
Yeah, I let the nerves go. I didn't put any.
What did you make for the audition video?
Nothing. You just literally, it's got to be 60 seconds.
Got it. Okay.
And it was at work. So I was in my chef, I was in my chef whites and I had a cutting board and an onion, whatever. And I just made a stupid video. I probably still have it, but of course I still have it. I watch it every night. alone. I stream it.
Is that what you were watching when I pulled up?
Of course I did, yeah.
You projected it on the back of your garage.
So we did, I sent it in. Then I went to, and then it was Sarah saying again, if you get on this plane, I guarantee you're going to make it on the show. Not even like, at first it was like, oh, they're going to ask you back for the semifinals. And I was like, so I went on that plane. I got a call like the day after I landed back in Chicago, went through everything. I mean, they're doing background tests, culinary tests, you meeting with lawyers. Like it's very heavy. Like it's a long day. And then I knew it. And then she's like, okay, now we got to talk about this for real. Like, is this something we want? I mean, I'm like, I want this. I know, you've seen me struggle, at trying to make it in the entertainment side of things. So she's like, but if you get on that plane, you're going to win the show. If you're going to do the show. So, I mean, what people don't realize, it's 2.5 months away. You're totally sequestered. There's no phones or music or books or TV or any distraction. It was the worst, man. I still have nightmares about it, but it was a means to an end, and it was a job audition. And I'm glad I won it, because there were moments during that show where I was like, fuck, I just want to go home, man. I miss my kid. I can't even visualize how my kid moves through space or sounds. Like you block it all out. You're in a house with a bunch of yahoos. I mean, people who would sign up to do a reality show competition, right? Yeah. It's not, you're abnormal to begin with.
Is there a moment when you started shooting? Was there a moment you're like, I'm out?
Dude, it was like day one. It was the first morning after like the longest day possible. That was like literally waking up, doing the walkthrough when you meet the rest of the cast outside, the Man's Chinese Theater in LA, it's Hollywood moment. And everybody I met was like, a 6'4" model I felt. And I'm like, chubby kid in a double XL, shirt from Burlington Coat Factory where there's more than just coats. And in that, I was like, fine, okay. And now you do the first audition, and you make your first culinary battle, quick fire, whatever. I forget what they call it. Food, Star Kitchen Challenge. I don't know what the hell they called it. But I did fine. But it was that next morning when it was like the full big like elimination competition, when they woke us up at like 3:30 in the morning after like 3 hours of sleep, and there was no hot water in any of the bathrooms. And we're like taking these cold showers. I go, these motherfuckers, they're trying to break us already, And there are moments like that. And that was back when they really engineered these reality show cooking, these competitions to break you, so you break on camera. And I wasn't going to let it. So is that day forward? And then, 1 week passes, second week, and then you realize, I'm like, this is mine to lose. Like I do have, out of anybody, I have the most performance skill. Like I had the best combination, I think. I was very well versed in both skills. And I was like, if I get too sad, I just took after that moment, that morning, that's where I would, because you couldn't do anything in your free I would take like 3-hour showers. I wasn't doing anything weird in the shower. I don't do that. It's a clean environment. I don't believe in that. There's plenty of time for that. But honestly, you didn't, even if I wanted to, do that, you're not going to, because you're depressed in a way. But it was, I would never repeat that or recommend it unless you knew you were going to win, because I'm so glad I won.
At what point were you like, I may have this?
I'd say about maybe like 4 weeks into it.
You're like, this could
I was
be mine?
consistently getting really good reviews on my presentations and food. I knew enough about television, I think, even though I really never made television at that point. But I knew that was like, you don't know how you're going to be edited.
Yeah.
But I knew they were creating a story with me.
Yeah.
And like that story was going to have a beginning, middle, and end. And I knew when they were producing the middle of that story that it was my happy ending to kind of make, come and, make a reality.
And at the time you were working private chefing for this corporation. What happened? So what happens? You win. Are you just done with that?
So I did break the NDA agreement when I told the owner of the company of Guaranteed Rate, who's a very powerful man, young guy, and the guy who kind of was my manager, what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to go do a show. Give me 3 months off. Keep my job, because if I lose, I'm still sequestered. They still sequester you. And I need a job to come back home. I need that security. We need this income just moved into a new house. You know what I mean? It was scary to because it's not like I'm getting paid to do Food Network Star. So I told them, I go, but it's probably in your best interest. I go, I'm feeling this. I'm going to win this. And it's good publicity. So let me train some new hires. I had a couple people working under me at that point already that did a couple of the other locations. So I had a staff that would handle it when I was gone. And by the time I got back to work, nobody knew what I was doing except those two. So now picture yourself. I'm in a 380 person. Should I shut that? Is that
someone's building a treehouse?
You can't, not in this. There's too many lawsuits in this town. So I got back. At that point, I knew I was top 2. And so business as usual, right? The other guy leaves. I'm back. I'm cooking, doing the thing, slicing meat, making sandwiches, 300 something people. So every question, and I'm interacting with each customer.
Yeah, everyone wants to know.
300 times a day. Where were you? Where'd you go? What happened? People thought I went to jail. People thought I went to rehab.
Oh, you couldn't even say that you tried out for the show or anything.
So when I came back, no, because there was no press release yet. Then I went back 2 weeks later for the finale, or maybe it was 4 weeks later. So during that 4 weeks, and then I leave for another week. People are like, oh my God, where'd he go? But that was the finale. I ended up winning. And then a week after I won, so I went back to work again. Same thing, same payment, because contractually you cannot, Erica Slavin, right?
Yeah.
That was her first month on the job. So it was her first thing, was her and Lauren Muller.
Yeah.
Now these are two people that work for Food Network PR, and they kind of gave us the good cop, bad cop. And you can probably guess who the bad cop was out of that. And Erica scared the shit out of us day 2 of Food Network Star, being like, if you guys get kicked out, which is most likely going to happen, and you go back to your job saying, this is what I did, or you take a new job, or you start buying car, whatever, win, lose, or draw, you're going to get sued. You cannot change your life. You can't lead on what you were doing, not only by word of mouth by saying I did Food Network Star, but you can't give clues to whether or not you won or not by quitting jobs. So it was scary. So I was like, oh, yes, So I ended up shooting the whole first season of Sandwich King and going back to work before the press release went out for Food Network Star that I was announcing the cast. So I knew it. So here I am, going through the daily grind, right? Not only knowing, I don't need to be here, but B, I already have a whole season of a show under my belt. And here I am, slicing turkey. Expertly, of course. Perfectly even. Part of me was like, I can't wait, I can't wait to start my new life. So the day it was released, it was everybody was like, oh, I knew it. You know what I mean? And then went on 13 weeks because I could not leave the job until the finale. So that was 13 weeks of the show, 300 times a day. You going home this weekend? You going home this weekend?
Oh, shit.
Come on.
I didn't even
because everybody was obviously pulling. I mean, it was a to-do. I was exhausted. The lies were exhausting.
The amount of time, side conversations, people are like, he for sure didn't win because he's still working here.
Exactly. That's why they don't want you to leave.
Oh,
isn't that funny?
God, I love you, Erica Slavin.
She came in, man. She came in hot too. She was, and it worked. So whatever she did worked, because
I mean, I feel like I should know this, but I've thought about most of these steps, but not like that. So now you have a new responsibility because you won this massive show and your life changes a little bit.
That was pretty, it was gradual because the journey was so orchestrated in a way by me, and I never lost. I mean, you get frustrated and you give up here and there, but I always had my eye on the prize. So people are like, what was that overnight change like? I go, it was really long. It's 14 years in the making of, moving across country, taking risks, enrolling in culinary school in my mid-20s, just doing a whole bunch of weird shit and dragging my wife through it all. It wasn't so when it happened, it was so tasty. When the show aired and we did the live viewing of the finale at Festa Italiana on Taylor Street, which is, my family's neighborhood. And this was my dad's office is still on Taylor Street, and the organizers, a keg of Peroni and, the mustacholi and a whole tent for us. It was awesome. And they announced it live on stage. It was great. From that moment, it was an overnight change because the secret was out. I can officially, and then I was on a plane the next day doing press and Today Show and Good Morning America. And that's when it got real, you know? And that's when it did change overnight. I was like, oh God, because that's when I did officially leave my previous job that Friday before the Sunday finale. And, and then haven't stopped since, it's like constant travel, right? And hustling even harder, trying to keep it going. Yeah. Then getting it is almost harder.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the first time I ever met Rachel Ray was in like 2003 or 4. And I met her like in the green room at the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. And I was like, how you doing? She's like, just riding this wave.
Yeah. That's what she said to you. So cool. Well, she's the James Brown of Food Network. I mean, there's no harder working person. I'm you see it from the front lines. But when I did, if you ask like when I knew I had Food Network star in the bag was when we did her show. And that was back when the stage rotated and we each got our own, 3-minute demo. And I crushed it. And she knew it. And she said this much and I was like, if I can crush a live studio audience with a demo, with an interview with her and do my job, I was like, I got this.
I was at the studio at that time. I was a producer on the show at that point. Yeah.
But you don't remember that.
No, I remember because I started I would do the advanced production work when the crew was coming in to film. So we always knew who was coming in.
But that was a great moment, man. She's the best.
So then you first do The Sandwich King, which was nominated for a daytime Emmy.
Yes, the first season of that. Man, it's crazy.
And it's cool because you couldn't pick a better theme for Yelpers to scrutinize you and give you their 2 cents about the product, right?
Yeah.
Sandwich.
Love me some Yelp.
Do you look at or listen to, like when it comes to your restaurant or anything, do you listen to reviews?
We listen. If I get...
You ever change anything?
All the time.
Really?
I am so quick to respond and change everything and take that. No, please don't do it to me. I've learned throughout the last, 3, having Pork and Mindy's open, you learn to, have a different protocol for negative reviews, right? Because not all of them are credible or whatever, but I do read them and it sucks. I'd rather have people tell me I'm not funny or, obnoxious on the kitchen or loud and whatever than have a bad food experience at one of the restaurants. I was like, I can handle it. I hate it. Yeah, but it's part of it. Nobody gets by unscathed,
My wife reviews my dinner cooking all the time. Yes. We sit down and she's
how many stars do you have right now?
This isn't your best dish. I'm like, what the fuck's the matter with it?
It's 2.5 stars.
Like, you're the one who wanted pasta. I made you a pasta dish.
How dare you? Eat it.
So you mentioned The Kitchen, which is a super fun show.
Mm-hmm.
What do you love about that show? Do you love having multiple hosts, if you will? Or are you surprised or do you enjoy sharing the kitchen with other people?
I love it. I think it's obviously I want to host my own show again and it's happening. So that's just a little teaser, but it's happening. Prime time. You obviously as a talent, you want to host your own, you want to have your own vehicle on prime time. So that's that's the goal. But I don't ever want to stop doing The Kitchen. I think we are better than ever. For me, I've spent my whole life grooming myself in the classroom, playing t-ball and little league, and I was always constantly trying to make people, crack people, be the class clown.
I wonder if people laugh at you on The Kitchen. Like when I catch it, I fucking laugh out loud at your random comments or I don't know. I get it. I get them, and I'm like, they make me laugh.
That's who I'm doing it for. You know what I mean? I think some people, when I throw those kind of offhanded, under my breath things that they include in the edit, I do it for the person just listening for or the little esoteric kind of.
Who gets your humor on the show the most?
Jeffrey and Sonny, probably. I mean, they all do. I mean, Katie's,
yeah,
Katie gets it.
She hears it, but kind of lets it roll.
She's got yes, exactly. She's like, oh my God, probably, and we get along splendidly. We are, the beauty of this format is we do it. We're 3 days together every 3 or 4 weeks, and then we go home.
How many shows are you doing a day?
sometimes 5, sometimes 4. So depending. So we get to like bounce and recharge. Whereas I think a lot, if this was like a daily show, I'm sure our patience would run a little thin, but we laugh. We, I'm doing it for them. Like I'm trying to crack up Jeffrey because if you ever come to see a taping, it is like, especially like if it's the third day of filming and it's the last show and 3 acts left, we're a little loosey-goosey and we just can't stop breaking. And it is so much goddamn fun for me. And of course, and then I could feel like, half the crew is rolling their eyes. The other ones are cracking up as well. Usually the camera operators. So, I mean, who am I doing it for? I'm doing it to make Jeffrey laugh and Sonny laugh, make my castmates laugh, trying to make the crew laugh because they sit and live through all this. And most of the camera operators, I mean, they're not like young bucks, man. They're like 58 years old, has worked on so many different shows and so many different world-class talents.
Those guys or girls have seen it all.
Seen it all.
I love interacting with them.
So when we did our first pilot, our test pilot, I was like, I think the cameramen should be able to laugh. That was my idea. I go, we need either a live audience here or the crew can chuckle like, what was the comedy? What was his name? Who reviewed? Not Tosh. Who was before Tosh? The one guy from Community. Whatever. Like where it's not a live studio audience, but it's chuckling. You can hear the production chuckle. I was like, we got to have that. I go, I guarantee you I'll be 3 times funnier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of worked. And then from there grew a live studio audience. I mean, it's like 50, 60 people. It's intimate, but it makes it even that better, that much better. So it's like, I get to do it for them all. Like I get to try the cameraman, my co-hosts and the audience and the people at home. So it's like, who am I aiming for? Yeah. I try to do a blanket funny that can make everybody laugh or like that guy sitting at home, his wife's kind of making him watch it on Saturday morning, he's maybe hungover, maybe just smoked a hitter. Yeah. Like, can I make him laugh with like a somewhat obscure Lebowski reference? And then I get that tweet from that guy immediately and I'm like, boom.
And he's like, oh,
the money's great, but like that to me is like, yes, that's the best feeling. Like, I think I got away with saying like 8-year-olds, dude, on The Kitchen, which is, aligned with the Jesus and Big Lebowski, which is my favorite movie of all time. And some things I get away with where I cannot believe I get away with it. Ripping a whippet from a...
All right. Touching on social impact and giving back, which I kind of highlighted earlier. You semi-recently worked with Guinness to create some recipes that are great any time of year, but this was around St. Patrick's Day specifically. And I know you created quite a few recipes, but you did a spin on a corned beef sandwich and some other items. So what about this Guinness project?
You know what? I love Guinness. I mean, it's probably been my favorite partnership I've done because I really do love it. And I drink it regularly. And to me, it's one of the unsung heroes of the beer and food pairing world.
It's what's crazy? When I was looking into it, I had no clue. I would have guessed total opposite, but it's actually comparable to a light beer. It's in calories.
No, it is. It's people think it's like you're drinking this. It's like a milkshake, but it's not. It's as much as like a regular lager or something.
Yeah. And then they say like some of the earliest food pairings dated back to like they've been brewing Guinness for like over 200 years, and there was some like old, I don't want to call it a myth, but like a pairing of oysters to Guinness or something.
And that still lives on. I mean, they say it's like the original food beer pairing. But I did this corned beef sandwich. My spin was on, buttered griddled Irish soda bread with like jalapenos and cheddar. And then I make kind of like a hybrid of like, what do I want with this corned beef? How can I make it even more Irish? And it's just, I mean, I love Irish soda bread. I mean, I grew up in a very, Italian, full-blooded Italian family. And we lived around mostly Irish people. So I think, this is, I do call myself half Irish sometimes by Irish by proxy.
Yeah.
But we had a babysitter that would, her name was Kathy Ferrarito, Italian girl. She'd come, my parents would go away. It always seemed to be March, when St. Patrick's Day was. They'd go away for a week and she would come and stay at the house and watch us 4 kids. She always made Irish soda bread. She was half Irish. And it was, to me, it'd sit on the stove and I'd take hunks of it and put either salted butter on it or cream cheese and just sit there and eat it. Hence my weight, my 8th grade, 240 in 8th grade. But it was at least, I think, that kind of is a personal connection to Irish soda bread and Irish food in general.
I like that. So here's another thing that I was intrigued about. Their Guinness Gives Back Fund. Mm-hmm. You did Stash for Charity campaign.
Yeah. I mean, I know people are like, what do you mean stash what? I mean, like it's short for mustache, right?
Yeah.
I defy you to take a sip out of a pint of Guinness, properly poured pint of Guinness, and not get your Guinness mustache. Yeah. It's like before people were getting milk mustaches, they were getting Guinness mustaches. Every time you post a photo with your Guinness mustache and hashtag stash for charity, Guinness will donate $1.
Which is amazing. So they donated $1 around St. Patty's Day time with you, and you guys were raising money for food banks in both Chicago and New York.
Yeah, I did the Oak Park River Forest Food Pantry as well as the New York Food Bank. It's always good to have a great partnership with a great brand, but also to give back during that partnership when you get to kind of step outside the brand and yourself and be a little selfless and give back.
I love it. Earlier, I had said one of the 3 words I would use to describe you as generous. And I know you give a lot, whether it's money or time. Mm-hmm. How do you choose where you give your time and what you put your efforts towards?
It's not easy. I mean, I'd be surprised if a day goes by where there's not an ask for some charitable donation of time or money or product or whatever it is, right? It comes with the territory, and I learned that very early on. And it's very hard to say no. I labor over it because you want to do everything, but you can't. I'll never work or see my family if I said yes to every, silent auction item. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I get anxious. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh my God, I feel bad for telling this person no. But you have to learn to say no. But you also, it's very important to get behind charities that you're passionate about, that I could see the results. Not instantly, but so I choose, I do stuff with St. Jude. I do stuff with the food banks. I do stuff with Oak Park River Forest Food Pantry, which is, kind of more of a grassrootsy food pantry.
I have a random question. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
please.
I'm cutting you off.
Do it. It's your job.
Oak Park River Forest Food Pantry. So you're from that area. Did you know that existed when you were growing up?
Hell no. No. A charity I do play for. I say that all the time because I do these Chopped and all these Star Chopped, and you compete for these charities. But I do Hepzibah a lot, which is Hepzibah Children's Home in Oak Park, where my mom was on the board. And she brought us there as kids, which is essentially a foster home for underserved children, abused children, the worst possible scenario. If you're a child and you're there, you had a shitty hand dealt to you. So I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, oh my God, there's this whole subset of children out there that don't have it like us. How dare I complain about anything? So I knew, that very, very early on in my TV career, that was, I knew about it as a kid. My mom had a strong connection to it. We volunteered there as children, so I kept it going, and it's still there, and it still benefits from whatever I could throw it.
Do you do stuff with your son?
We've done some stuff like drop off food and, to the kids, and so he sees some of it. I got to be way better, and that's, it's hard.
It's hard.
You got to do it. But I'm almost ashamed of myself that we're not doing more with it, stuff on the ground, And it's easy, I think, in this business to be like, I'm just going to throw my name on a check, or I'm going to give away something from my restaurant. And that's what I did it. I did
know.
My karma's raised.
I get torn with it because there's organizations that will say, hey, we would love to put Rachel Ray's name on our host committee for our invitation. And I'm like, well, I appreciate you thinking of her. It's hard because on one hand, I know her name may help them sell tickets to their fundraiser. But on the other hand, I feel guilty letting them use her name if she's not actually doing something for them.
Yeah.
But I guess she is.
Just the name, the use of the name.
Yeah.
The star power, the clout, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. is all they're looking for. So me, with these charities, it's like, what drives me crazy is that I feel like a lot of these big events and galas, it's just like who can bring the biggest donation, or who has the best contact that they can use for a live auction item, or to put on the host committee. You know what I mean? Like, and it becomes not about, and you got the video and then the speeches and everything. Like, for me, I like boots on the ground stuff.
Well, and then you mentioned now you're in the restaurant game, so everyone wants a dinner for four or whatever it is, and people don't realize, as we spoke about earlier, restaurants you're not rolling in dough from restaurants. And so when I meet with someone who wants to meet with me to run an event idea by me, and they're like, and we'll just get this chef to donate, 500 portions of food and a meal at his restaurant. And I was like, why do you think that they have all this money to be able to do that? Like, do you walk into a clothing store and say, can I just get 100 pair of jeans for my event?
It doesn't work like that. And then like that's the misconception about the restaurant world. I mean, like, the margins are so thin that you're lucky to, turn a profit and pay your freaking bills, you know? But that's what I love about Chef's Playground. And that is that because there's kids there, you get to meet the kids and see the kids in action and everything. And I like that, I like seeing results. And you rarely get to see the results of any charitable work.
When I became involved with that school, Academy for Global Citizenship, that did the Chef's Playground event for many years, that was one of my main things. I was like, I don't want people to come into this event because I want there to be great chefs and good quality food and have a good experience in value, And I said, I don't want them to come and leave and say, what was that event for again?
Yeah.
Like, you went in and there were students there from the school, and you kind of got an idea of what this school stood for in a way. So
that's cool. All schools should be like that. My God, I wish I went to school like that now. I mean,
it's crazy.
But you see the results of the donations. It's not like, I mean, that's like the food banks and all that. I mean, that's why it's like it's so important to do boots on the ground stuff and deliver food places. It's because you see people eating it. A lot of time these big, I've been at events in New York, at Cipriani, where it's like this. People are donating. Live auctions are like starting at 50,000. Just to raise a paddle, not even for anything. And then people are donating $1 million on a chef's dinner. I mean, but you don't see people eat, you don't see the fruits of that donation. You believe in it, obviously. That's why you wouldn't do it. But
the closest thing is like City Harvest, which is an incredible organization. Yeah. They just had their event in April, and they'll have like truck drivers, because they have a fleet of trucks. They go and pick up food at grocery stores or wherever and deliver it to soup kitchens and food pantries. And so they'll bring the truck drivers to the event and sit at a table, and they get to enjoy an event, but they're also acknowledged, which is pretty neat. Yeah.
And that's because that cuts food waste too, which is abhorrent. Been bad lately, but we're getting there, I think.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right. Speed round.
I'm ready. I got my Scholastic News in front of me here. It's my son's homework. I know it's hard reading, man. It's like the the New York Times.
Whole thing? It's like 3 pages.
It is. Well,
Is it always like
that? Budget concerns. It's about 4 pages. He loves it.
That's great. All right. What did you have for dinner last night?
We had Thai-style meatballs with pork, ginger, garlic, scallions in there. Real simple, ground pork I got some fresh egg noodles. Is this a lightning round? Because I'm elaborating.
Go.
H Mart. I went to H Mart for the first time.
Oh, really?
It was awesome. So I got some baby bok choy and all sorts of sauces that I don't know what the labels were, but man, they taste good. Some crazy ass instant ramen that I can't wait to crack open. And so I made some, pan fried Chinese egg noodles with leftover Thai meatballs that Sarah made.
Does Lorenzo help you guys cook?
Yeah, he does. When he's not like...
Does he like it or...
Distracted. Okay. He loves it. He does. We should probably cook more, but sometimes just... I'm not going to lie and be like, oh, he's my sous chef, because that would be bullshit. You won't believe. Sometimes you got to get dinner on the table, and I have to get him to Taekwondo, So, but he loves it, man. He loves like making eggs and sauteing like carrots with fat or butter, whatever, and tossing the pan, chopping things. He's good.
Nice.
He's good. He's above average.
Yeah, that's good. Name a smell in the kitchen you love.
Beef fat, like sizzling beef fat, whether in steak or burger form.
Yeah.
Yes.
Smell in the kitchen you hate.
Like yesterday's salmon.
Ugh.
Onion in the garbage.
Oh.
When you're done, when you're cleaned up, you're like, shit, it stinks. You got to take the garbage
I feel
out.
like my wife smells that like from a block away.
Yeah.
She'll walk in and be like, what'd you do with onion? I'm like, I finished with that onion so long ago. How do you know it's still lingering? You know? What pisses you off in the kitchen? And you could take this like in your restaurants.
I hate when people aren't using their space wisely. You know what I mean? Keeping stuff in front of them, making it easier on themselves, right? Wasting it, like whether in the restaurant or at home, if I'm cooking with somebody, they will not be mentioned. And you see them kind of like the prep bowl's over here and the cutting board's here. And then they keep running to the sink to grab. I'm like, just put it all in front of you. Like, don't, and especially with my son, I have to teach him, right? Time management. While you're gathering your ingredients, get your pan. Yeah. Set it to medium. There's no reason you have to wait for your pan. If you use your time, time is money, young man. So I hate that time management. And I guess I hate waste too. Yeah.
What makes you happy in the kitchen?
Music while cooking. Oh, it's my favorite. I got speakers all over this house. I have a record player that connects to the speakers. I have buttons where I can play Sirius XM, whether I want to listen to Howard Stern or Sirius XMU. I press a button like it's constant.
Wait, what are your go-to Sirius stations?
XMU, Howard 100, Howard 101. I'm a giant Howard Stern fan. I've been on the wrap-up show 3 times. It's my claim to fame. And not on the main show, the wrap-up show. Sirius XMU, Grateful Dead.
What's XM? What number is XMU?
XMU is 26, I think. It's like indie rock.
Okay.
And anything newer and kind of pitchforky, as I like to say, plays on there. But that's where I usually find new music. I like Grateful Dead, Beatles. Those are probably top 3.
Got it.
It's a whole spectrum of stuff.
Yeah, I got to add some of those to my favorites.
Yes, your favorite. Jam On can be good. 90s on 90.
Yeah, I like both of those. Spectrum, Coffee House?
It's a little too sleepy for me.
All right.
Spa. Funny story. We used to, of course, you have young twins, so you know the importance of a nap, right? And not disturbing the nap because it's your time to either nap or not have to deal with shit. So we would Lorenzo would fall asleep in the car all the time, right? Whether we're trucking him or, like the path I used to say, he'd be in the car a lot as a baby and a toddler. So if his nap time, you time it, he'd be out cold. I'd leave him in the driveway. I'd put on the Spa channel, which had no lyrics, and make sure the heat was, at a normal, whether it was a little chilly outside or warm, we had it going. The thing, he wasn't in a garage. Don't, listen, people, don't get mad at me.
Services.
Don't try to, I'd crack a window, but I'd have that Spa going at 12. And
That's
it would be
brilliant.
And he would, man. And we just have to either be outside and watch it,
Oh,
but then the best when he got to the age where he can get himself out of the car seat after a driveway nap was the best. That spot. So that's my go-to.
Oh, one more question. What actor would you want to play Jeff Mauro in a movie?
Oh, that's a great one. Vince Vaughn. We're watching Wedding Crashers yesterday. He's so good. He was great in that wrestling movie that just came out. About the British wrestler girl, WWE, with The Rock's in it, and he's family in the fight. It was really cute. He's great. I love him. I'll always love Vince Vaughn, no matter what he did. Even, True Detective season 2.
Are you a wrestling fan?
Not at all. Not even close. I actually have PTSD from wrestling. It's my older brother, huge wrestling fan.
Still, goes to Allstate.
If wrestling was the thing, he would. Yeah, I've sent him.
Dude, my brother he takes his
Does
kids
he
there
really?
still. Oh, yeah. Loves it.
You got to be into it.
One of my buddies I went to high school
into
with is a professional wrestler, and he has a podcast called The Art of Wrestling, which has millions of downloads and a following around the world.
Really?
He travels around the world almost on a weekly basis wrestling in Japan leagues.
Really?
And this was his dream, when he was a kid. And he went to Western Michigan, I believe, or a school in Michigan, played football for a year or two, and wound up going to wrestling college.
Get the hell out of here. People love, you're not like a casual wrestling fan. You are either not in your radar. Or you are there with the sign. Spitting on freaking whoever. Triple H. That's all I know. But it's my brother, I think he doesn't follow it anymore, but he loved it growing up. And I kind of liked it, But I knew, man, if wrestling was on that once a week or WrestleMania, I would get my ass whooped. It would be like 2 matches in, he'd give me that eye, man. Next thing you know, I'd be in a figure 4 leg lock on the living room floor, screaming for my parents to come save me. Like knocking out teeth, bloody. You could see I've got several scars on my face. They're all from my brother. Same thing, Rocky, Best of the Best, Bloodsport, anything we'd watch with fighting in it.
He was like learning the moves.
I remember seeing Rocky 4 at the Lakes, or maybe Rocky 5, the one with Tommy Guns or whatever. Rocky 5 at the Lake Street Theater. And I remember walking across the Lake Street with my brother, and I knew he had this look, and he's like, the movie was over, right? Who's not charged up after watching any Rocky, whether it's like Rocky 1 or Rocky 15? We went home. I got whooped. Like, you know, I mean, it's not like I was abused by my, like it was, you know, as a normal brother would normally somewhat beat up his younger sibling, but I knew it. Like, so I can't do it. It's not like I'm adverse to violence, but wrestling, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me.
All right. Closing, the real closer.
The real closer.
What advice would you give to a 25-year-old Jeff Mauro?
What advice would I give to a 20? You know, take better care of yourself, especially at 25. I think it took several years of being on television to like, in traveling and eating, to be like, slow down, chubby. You know, you'll feel better. You can hustle harder if you're physically in better shape. And I think, you know, I mean, you get caught up in it, especially in the beginning. You know, it's like the Food Network 50, and you kind of end up gaining weight. And I mean, that's what I would say. I would also say, be careful who you hire. I've been with the same core team since day one. There were times when I think I was impatient with my career and I wanted more and more, and I just end up hiring people who would eventually not be of any service. It just costs you money and lawyers and time. And it's like, I hated that. I hated being, you know, I don't know. I hate wasting money. It's hard.
Yeah.
A dollar's hard to still make in this business, you know?
Yeah.
And I want it all.
Yeah.
I don't want to give any of it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time to chat, and keep being funny, because you make me laugh, and I'm excited to see that the next chapter of TV world, restaurant world, personal life. Thanks for giving how you give, because it makes a difference. Your voice, your time, your money, all that stuff.
There's always more to give, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Quote, "It's very important to get behind charities that you're passionate about, where you can see the results." Thanks again to Jeff Mauro. Find him at jeffmauro.com. Find me and keep up to date with this podcast across all social media platforms at On Cappy's Plate, or go to beyondtheplatepodcast.com. Beyond the Plate is on Twitter at BT Plate Podcast and Facebook. Big thank you. This episode was produced by myself along with Ian Cohen, Joel Yeaton, Sean Petrosian. Thank you all. Thank you to Andrew Glatt for your social media expertise. And our music has been composed by Goldford. Find him at iGoldford. Thank you, Jeffrey Goldford. As always, a special shout out to my wife, Katie, for letting me nag her to edit things that I write week after week. Please rate, review, and or subscribe to this podcast on your listening site of choice. Thank you for listening to this season 3 of Beyond the Play. We hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for updates on season 4. We're going to take a nap for a minute. I'm Cappy, and remember, there are never too many cooks in the kitchen.